What's good, folks? This is Ace here as always with my partner Marcus, and we are about that sports life, man. You know what we came to do? We're about to get into talking in sports. Before we get too far into it, man, what's good, bro?
I'm doing good, man. Can't complain. Lots
Word,
going
word.
on. How about you?
Yeah, yeah, man. We got a lot to talk about, man. I'm good, man. Getting through this week. Pretty eventful. So we like I said, we got a bunch to talk about. Uh, Nice hoodie, by the way.
Yeah, we're
You know,
gonna get back one day. Shout out to my Eagles, baby. It's tough times right now, but we be back.
Hey, it looks like it's tough times for a lot of people, man, in the NFL. But we're gonna talk. We're gonna talk. We're gonna talk NFL. But let's start with a little NBA basketball, man. Hopefully sometime soon we could talk, get a little bit more in depth with college hoops. That's my particular favorite sport. But I don't know. It's just shaky this year.
It's no,
It's
the
not
blue
doing it
bloods
for me.
ain't there. That's what it is.
Yeah, it's
When
not
in
doing it for me,
Kentucky,
man.
Kansas, North Carolina, and Duke, when they not up there, it's not the same.
Yeah, some players I like, but it ain't
Yeah.
overall. I'm not into it. But let's talk.
Once the tournament get going, it'll
Yeah,
come
of
back because
course.
that's
Yeah,
the tournament.
yeah, the best, most wonderful time of the year. But
Hmm.
um, let's talk NBA. Your boys, man. Shout out to your boys. Sixers got a
Sixers,
big
man.
win last night.
Yeah, we almost blew it down the stretch. Last 4 minutes got shaky. They got a little comfortable. Thought they had it, but that game they played well. Shout out to Tobias hitting the game winner. I think we saw what you want to see from Ben Simmons. He was aggressive. He gave you everything that you asked him to do outside of taking jump shots, which I have kind of just gotten over it. I don't think it's going to happen. But even without it, when he's aggressive and he attacks the basket, he's good enough to be a part of a championship level team. And they showed that yesterday. Uh, it's still early in the season, so I won't just go overboard with it, but definitely a impressive win.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we talk, often about, the games, and I've been on record as saying, in my opinion, watching games, night in and night out. So far, the Sixers to me are the best team in the NBA that I've seen on both ends of the floor, night in, night out. Um, and last
Yeah.
night, that was kind of emblematic of that. They controlled that game.
From yeah, yep.
LeBron, now AD was has continued his early season trend of not playing too well
Yep,
until
shake.
he came up in the second half, more towards like third and the fourth quarter. He came alive and was part of the reason why they almost stole that one.
And yeah, he
Um,
had if Tobias doesn't make the game winner, he would have had the game winning shot on the. It was a nice screen set by Dennis Schroeder. AD cuts to the basket. Brian finds him for the layup. But I think Anthony Davis is a great player. But there's a question about how good of a defender he is. Is it more of in name, or is he really truly a elite defender? Because he was not trying to rock with Embiid last night.
what is the thing? And I commented on that as well. But my thing is this: Anthony Davis is a great defender for today's NBA. He wouldn't have been a great defender 10 years ago. He's not a good one-on-one in the post type of defender. He's
Yes.
good for what the today's NBA pick and roll switching. Anthony Davis can switch out with most perimeter
Anybody. Yep.
players. Yeah,
Hmm.
and he also can protect the rim. But what he can't do is hang with a big body like an
No,
Embiid.
because you
Like he
if you
can't do
notice,
that.
like they put Gasol on Embiid more than Anthony Davis,
Yeah,
especially in half court sets. Like if it was a if they were running the court, if it was a fast break and Davis got back, yeah, he would fill the lane and try to protect the rim. And sometimes he did it, sometimes he didn't. But whenever he got to the half court offense, you would notice Anthony Davis would be more towards Ben or towards Tobias, and they would have Marc Gasol on Embiid. And I understand that Marc Gasol has had some good success against Embiid in past years. But Marc Gasol at this point is not the same guy he was for 3, 4 years ago. And I agree that AD probably is a little too light in frame to deal with Embiid all game down low, but he is given the respect of being an all NBA defender. And if you're going to get that title, you can't run from the heat of the other big guy on the other team because Embiid don't run from no big guy.
but that's what happens. Like I said, he's a great defender for today's NBA.
Today's game, yeah.
But
It
at
ain't
the
too
same
many
time,
Embiids.
yeah, exactly. When you run into that other, that's when you get exposed as and it's not. Maybe exposed is the wrong word. It's more of a mismatch because AD
Yeah,
is not
it was.
really your typical big man. He's not supposed to be able to guard Embiid because that's not really who he is as a player. He's a 7 footer, but he's not. He doesn't play a 7 footer's game.
As I was watching, I kind of remembered. I'm like, that's why he doesn't want to be labeled a center.
Yeah, exactly. He's not
Because if
really.
he's
He's not.
labeled a power forward, and he brought size wise, yes, and the way he plays. Because if he's labeled a power forward, he's able to get away with not checking somebody like Embiid or somebody like Jokic in a 7 game series, or even in big games, he can get away with that if he's considered a power forward, and they'll go to Gasol. Uh, Yesterday kind of showed why the Lakers, yes, Marc Gasol is a good addition, but why they probably should have kept Dwight.
Yeah, I mean, I think Dwight was a loss for them, and McGee. I think those were losses. Not
Yes, because
having
both
that.
of them are better defenders than Gasol at this point. Gasol was always a big time defender. We know that. But at this point in his career, he's not the same player.
See, the problem is this: if Embiid was one dimensional, if Embiid was just a post player, Gasol would be fine. But Embiid
Mm-hmm.
can
But
do
he's not.
multiple things. He's a 3 level scorer, and Gasol at this level, at this stage in his career, can't hang with him on the perimeter at all. Not even very far away from the post. Like
Mm-mm.
further
Now,
away from the post, the more ineffective he is.
let me ask you a question specifically towards the Lakers. Are they better this year or last year? I have my opinion, but I want to hear yours first.
Well, I think that the team is more. It's a better fit this year. Now, I think that they had a better run last year. Let me explain. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like going into the break, the COVID break is what I call it. Basically, the best way for me to explain it. I
Pretty
still
much, yeah.
don't think. I still think, even though they had the best record, I still think the Clippers were the better team. Because if we, remember, try to get the bubble out of your head. The Clippers went on a crazy run right leading up to the end to that break. The
Yeah,
Clippers,
12-1. Mm-hmm.
yeah. So the Clippers were the better team. So and
We've always differed on that one, but go ahead.
I didn't like the fit last year. I didn't think that they had a third scorer or a third option at all. I didn't think they had anybody to run the offense when LeBron wasn't on the court. Those things to me were issues.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and they fixed those issues going into this year with adding Dennis Schroeder. Um, and, he kind of is that ball handler when LeBron's off the floor and the third scorer. So he kind of,
Yeah, he's
plugged
more
both.
offensive than Rondo. Yeah.
Then they also added, and when they added Trez, they added Gasol, added some other guys that can some chip in. So I feel like they improved in that way. But I also just don't. Here's my point. Um, LeBron and AD. Well, not even take LeBron out of it. I'm really talking about AD. He's not a player to me that has been consistently a winner. He
He
won
has
last
never been a
year.
winner. Hold on. He's never been a
Yeah,
winner until last year.
till last year, and that's what I'm saying.
You don't
To
got to say
me,
consistent. He's never been.
yeah, but I feel like that is to me still an issue, and I think that's kind of been masked by the fact what happened in the bubble. I feel
Mm-hmm.
like that's really going to be proven now because the bubble was a sprint. They got in there, they did what they had to do, they got out with a chip. This is back to being a marathon. This is an NBA season, and presumably it's going to be a full playoff. Just
Oh, yeah.
like normal years. And I don't know. I don't know. He has those ups and downs, so it all depends on where they catch him on that bell curve. Is he going to be on the up or the down? So and I think they need him in order to do the things that they plan on doing. Okay.
I think they are better on paper right now because Dennis Schroeder at this point in his career is better than where Rondo is. Montrez is supposed to be a very impactful 6 man, 7th man off the bench, but he's not been that yet this year. And maybe that's just because he has to get back into form. He has to become a part of the
Mm-hmm.
Lakers rotation. Cool. We understand that this is a different type of year, no training camp, no real preseason. That's understood, and it's going to take him some time. They missed JaVale McGee and Dwight off that bench. They were big. People will not give them the respect because they just play different role player roles. But those two gave so much energy and the ability to allow AD to not have to exert as much defensively, and that allowed AD to have 30, 40 point games left in and night out, which is what pushed them over the top to me. Because yes, LeBron was consistently doing his thing all season last year, but
Mhm.
when you get a 35 point game from AD, along with they had shooting with Danny Green, KCP was hot. Like I just feel like last year's team gelled better than this one. And it could just be too early for me to say that, and I got to allow them to grow and to become a team. But I think some of their signings, other than Schroeder, he's working. Wes Matthews has been a dud. Uh, what's my man? Like KCP is not yet back to what he was shooting wise last year. And I think he'll get back because he's been a guy like that warms up throughout the season most of the time of his career. But I don't get the same. I know they're number one in the West. Well, I don't know. They might not be anymore after losing last night, but they're right there with the Clippers and the Jazz, who are hot right now. It's just something doesn't seem the same to me from last year to this year, and I'm not saying that just based off of last night. Like it seems like every time I watch them, if LeBron is not playing like the MVP, I don't see a championship team. You know what I mean? And
Exactly.
he
Exactly.
probably it's crazy to say this, but LeBron probably can do this all year. I'm done. Just like Tom Brady, I don't think anybody should doubt LeBron until he walks off the court.
No, I mean, of course. Like you said, if Bron could, that's what I think you have to plan for that. You plan for Bron. You plan for him to do this. But everybody else is somewhat of a question mark.
Question mark. Yep.
I don't think Trez is a good fit with that team. I
Yeah,
think
it's not
what
the
they did
same.
with
He's not the same
what
guy
they
as last year at all.
yeah, what they did by signing Trez was more hurt the Clippers than help
Clippers.
themselves.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So
And I think
which
they actually, they tried to help hurt the Clippers,
yeah, I
but
think
they
they
may have
rebounded
slowed
well.
themselves down a little
Yeah,
because that's why they lost to Dwight Howard.
yeah, and then but also I think that the Clippers in doing that they went and got Ibaka, who I think is a better fit and a better fit to guard AD in the playoffs. If and when they do see each other, I think that Ibaka is
And
way
Ibaka
better than
stretches the floor at this point in his career.
exactly. So that notwithstanding, with what you're saying as far as shooting wise, for sure.
They have the
But
same
I
shooting
think,
game.
yeah, I don't think they have the same shooting, but I think if Trez can figure out a role, and I think I don't know if he's getting the minutes he was getting with the Clippers either, and I think he was
Yeah,
more of a
nah, he's probably playing like 27, 28 minutes for the Clippers. I don't think he's playing that at this point. I won't quote that because I'm not positive, but yeah, I don't think he's played the same role yet. But that could just be like we said, it's still early. Like there hasn't been any preseason. There wasn't no real training camp. So you do gotta let it come in and let it gel. And I think that's the same thing with teams like Brooklyn, who's 100% fresh, brand new. Even the Celtics have been playing good, but feel like even though they'll take another step once Kemba's fully healthy and they gel together. And even the Sixers, yes, the Sixers are rolling right now, but Doc Rivers is still a brand new coach. Seth is
Mhm.
new to the team. Danny's new to the team. Like it's still a lot of parts that weren't there before. And I think that goes around the whole NBA. And it's something we've
Yeah.
never witnessed before, watching teams have to gel from day one. Unlike
Mhm.
previous
Because they
seasons where you
didn't,
got
they didn't have the traditional training camp, and for
one, two
rookies, they didn't
preseason
no
games. Yep.
summer league.
Yep. No
So
summer league. Yep.
yeah. So it's like very different. But okay, so similar to what you mentioned, Nets. You mentioned the Celtics. I'm gonna touch on the Celtics real quick, then we're gonna go to the Nets. But with this, like you said, with the Celtics, last night we played the Spurs, and I'm gonna say, that was the first
That blew
time
one of my
that,
tickets. Thank you. Not scoring 109 points, but we'll leave that alone.
bro. Listen, they blew my night. They blew your ticket. They blew my night.
Now I
But
got one of them off. Jalen Brown did his job. My other one, damn, 100. Y'all scored 108 points. Thanks. We go ahead.
that's the first time you had Kemba, JB, and Tatum on the floor together, and it showed. It looked you could tell that they weren't like as much as to me. I've always loved Jalen Brown and Jason Tatum's fit as two wings that do just about the same thing, but never seem
Mm-hmm.
to get in each other's way. I love like
Mm-hmm.
that. Like always has been impressive to me. And Kemba too. He seems like he always felt like a good compliment. But last night that it was just that they seemed like they was getting in each other's way, in each other's space, bringing each other's defenders to into the. So they're gonna have to work that out. Especially with Kemba missing time at the beginning of the season. So and then as well as doing things like a kid, the kid uh Pritchard that we drafted, he
Got
played
hurt.
really well. But when he comes back, we're gonna have to find minutes for him. He has to play,
Yeah.
and I think
Yep.
that's gonna probably come at the expense of Jeff Teague, who we signed in the offseason, who to me I'm
He's.
not seeing it
I think
I'm
he's
not seeing
done.
it out of Jeff Teague. And
I
then
think he's done.
same thing with Tristan Thompson. Like, to be honest, I'm not seeing that out of Tristan. I'm really not seeing it. Like, I'm
Yeah,
really
you
not
heard he
seeing a
said.
lot of.
You heard he wanted Jersey retired to Cleveland.
Yeah, I don't know, bro. I mean, hey, that's Cleveland. That's what they do in Cleveland.
No,
We do things different
eh,
in Boston.
he's
So,
hilarious.
but I'm like, I'm not seeing a lot of return on investment for these offseason signings. I'm looking forward to a trade. I'm looking forward to shaking something up. We got to do something different here. So that's what I'm kind of looking at now. And then, all right, so you talked about the Nets. Now the Nets are in a different situation. They already made the trade.
Yep,
So they made their big move. I think they
they're
got to
big
make a
move.
lot of
They got to
smaller
figure out.
moves.
Yep, they got to
And I
build
think,
that bench, and they need a big man.
yeah, but I think it's going to be there for him. I think you got a guy like a PJ Tucker. I think PJ Tucker is going to be available for somebody pretty soon, and that's a guy they can use. They could really use PJ Tucker
But
because
what
he's
can
a
they
guy.
give up?
No, PJ. I think PJ Tucker. I feel like he's a guy who might get bought out. You got to think
Uh,
about what's going on
well,
in
the
Houston
Rockets
right
are
now.
in the playoffs right now.
Yeah, but they don't need PJ Tucker to do that. Like that's what I'm saying. Like I think that it's going to be some guys that are going to be available as the season goes on. Look at Cleveland's center position.
Yeah, too many of them.
You got Jared Allen, you got JaVale McGee, you got Andre Drummond. They're gonna have to. Somebody got to go.
Kevin Love, so many.
Yeah, like somebody they got to get rid of two of
And
them.
yeah, Love
So
is the one that they say they think the Nets are interested in. But I feel the same way that I just said about Tucker. Is what are you giving up? Like you just gave up everything to get James Harden. Like yes, if someone gets bought out that is an impactful player, that usually happens on teams that are out of the playoff picture. And then of course we all know veteran players love to go to a team they think that could win a championship. So excuse me. Yes, they'll be able to potentially add somebody like that. My issue with the Nets is this: they can't defend. Kyrie Harden ain't defending anyone. And then you look at the bench, they don't have a real scorer or anything that comes off the bench because Dinwiddie's hurt. When Dinwiddie getting hurt actually is going to help them long term because he would have been a part of the trade if he was not
oh
hurt.
and I was gonna say not to cut you off. They do have a chip. They do have something that they can work with, and that's they can take on some salary. They're over the cap, but they got a disabled player exception for Dinwiddie. So they basically have, I guess, whatever Dinwiddie's salary was for this year to add a player. So I think that's
Okay.
something that they could use to add somebody that's gonna. I think that's maybe what they would use for like a PJ Tucker if they needed to
Yeah.
take
And
on
I
that
mean,
salary or something.
Tucker would help defensively, and he shoots the three pretty well too. I think a they need a scorer off the bench for sure, but number one is getting some type of defensive presence in that starting lineup. No one like I know you could say DeAndre Jordan might be that guy, but at this point in DeAndre Jordan's career, I'm sorry, you think if the Sixers and the Nets are the Eastern Conference Finals, and be giving DeAndre Jordan 40 a night, like we're not going.
Yeah,
This is
yeah,
gonna
but
get crazy,
and
and that's
and
the
that's the
thing.
problem.
Like
Like
that's the
it's
problem.
going to be very hard to find an answer for Embiid
And
on
then
on on the market
they
at
are
all.
having issues defending attacking guards. You watch Colin Sexton rape him 2 games in a row. You watch Trey Young give him 30. Like they ended up winning the game. The second they ended up winning against the Hawks in overtime. But you just see that we already knew Kyrie and Harden weren't defenders. But a lot of times they got away from it because they would have somebody next to them that was. We know in
Now,
Houston, Harden played with Westbrook or he played with Chris Paul. They defend. With Kyrie in Boston, he had Marcus Smart, he had Jalen Brown, he had in Cleveland, he had who was right there, Richard Jefferson. Right here, him and Harden together,
Yeah.
no defense is being played,
Well,
and
let me
that's what
ask
I
you this.
really think is going to hurt them.
Let me ask you this. Couple things about the Nets that I've seen floated around. Do you think that there's a there would be any talk, or do you think that they could see a way that they could bring Harden off the bench as a six man, sort of like a Ginobili type of role, in order to bring somebody off the bench that would be that defender to kind of be next to Kyrie, and then when you have Harden on the floor, just let Harden do what Harden does best at that point because he doesn't have to worry about a Kyrie or a KD most of the time when he would be out there. To me, it makes all the basketball sense in the world, but I
Mm-hmm.
don't know how how that conversation goes.
Mm-hmm.
That's the
That's what I
tough.
was going to say.
That's
I
a,
don't know. I think you're right. Like, yeah, the Ginobili role, we've seen that work. We've seen elite players come off the six-man role and still score and still be good players. There's another one, he's an older player, actually from the Celtics, Dennis Smith. Like, he had that same type of role. Like, we've seen that. Lou Williams, even though Lou Williams is not as Hall of Fame like those guys, and like Harden, but we've seen him be a borderline
didn't
all-star
he
in
have
that
one for the
role.
Pistons back in the day?
Yep, like we've seen that, but this is the issue. James Harden, I don't think he accepts that right now.
Yeah,
You know what I
it's
mean?
tough.
I maybe in 2 years when he's 33, 34, maybe. Right now, he feels like he's supposed to be with KD and Kyrie to lead them to a championship. For me, KD and Harden work. Kyrie's the problem.
But I feel like
That's
Kyrie and
who has
KD
to
was
take this
working
step.
before that though.
That yes, they were two works. That I mean, we've all seen three work also, but it's three different type of players. We never seen three pretty similar guys like we're watching right now. But I think Harden is better than Kyrie, so I would keep Harden and KD. I would look to move Kyrie, and I know that's not like what people want to see. They want to see the big three, the flashy, blah blah blah. But you can get a lot for Kyrie that could really
Yeah,
form
nah, for sure.
around Harden and KD. And now I'm afraid because I'm as a Sixers fan, I don't fear them, and I know people are like, "Yo, you being a little cocky, blah blah blah," just because your team's winning right now.
I would, no, no, I
That
would
like
because of Embiid.
the Nets can
Embiid is
score 125 at any time. I'm like, that sounds good, but when they play a team that defends, because the Sixers defend, they have like yes, no one's
yeah,
stopping
it's gonna.
KD, right? No one's stopping Durant, but Ben is at least going to make him work for it. You know what I mean? Like Tobias is going to make Harden work for it. You right? And then they have no one down low. Like so, I still think that they have to figure out what they're going to do in terms of building a real team. Right now, I don't see them as a real team. Right now, I see them as the NBA's not freak show. Like that sounds crazy, but they're the attraction. You know what I mean? But I don't know if that
Yeah, no,
attraction is going to be there come finals time.
yeah. I mean, like we were saying, like I said earlier when I was talking about the Lakers, this is a NBA season, a full season. So
Mm-hmm.
they
You got a
got
long way to
time
go.
to gel, to try to figure together, pick a couple guys up. There's probably some guys we're not even thinking about. I've heard
Yeah.
talks of Michael Beasley. Now he's not going to help much defensively, but he can be a guy off the bench for you, give you some buckets
He would
when you.
help the off the bench scoring role.
Yeah,
He could do that. Yes.
yeah. So I mean,
Uh, what's
and
my
it's
name?
other guys we're not even thinking of. It's guys we don't
Where's
have.
Joe Johnson? I know Joe Johnson, right, is an older guy at this point. But Joe Johnson come off the bench to 20. I don't care how old he is. Like he is a bona fide
Yeah, today.
scorer.
Yeah,
Hmm?
today he gonna come and give you
Yes,
20
he's a
today.
bona fide scorer.
Yeah,
They need someone like that off the bench because the bench right now is a non-factor. You got Timothy
yeah.
Lawalu Carroll. You got Landry Shaman, who has kind of plateaued since he got traded to the Clippers. Like you just don't have
They gave up a
anything.
whole bench. They gave up a
They
whole
gave it
bench
all
to get
up. They
Harden.
gave it up. Yep. They gave it all up. And I understand why you gave it all up because you were trying to get Harden. And I think they were in a bidding war with the Sixers. And that's what I think. I don't know if the Sixers fully wanted Harden. I think they were like, okay, we'll get him at our price, But what we're
Yeah.
gonna do is make them pay the world for them.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Because
And
if
that's
they
what you
pay
gotta
the
do
world
sometimes.
for them, exactly. If they pay the world for them, it may look good, but in the long run, we may be better off. And like they're always going to be fun to watch. You know what I mean? Like kind of like, all right, remember Golden State early on, where they would score
Yeah.
125, 130 before Draymond became a starter. They still had Harrison Barnes and Mark Jackson was the coach.
Yeah. Hmm.
Steph would go off, Clay would go off. Harrison Barnes was pretty solid, but you always knew they did not play defense enough to win. You know what I mean? I still like people ignore defense too much. You have to play defense to win a championship.
No team wins a championship without it.
You have
None.
to.
No.
Miami got to the chip last year because of their defense.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned Miami because that's the other thing I was going to say. Other thing I've seen floated around a little bit. So, what do you think about the Nets going to primarily a zone defense?
It might
Especially
help
going
them.
down towards the playoffs. I think
It
that
might help
a
them.
zone might be what they have to do because one thing about a zone to me is less about being able to really defend and athleticism and more about basketball IQ.
Yeah,
And that's
playing
one
your
thing I will
area.
say. That's one thing I will say those three guys got is
They got that.
basketball
Yep.
IQ.
That
So
might help.
I think that might be something they have to look into. Now I don't know. I look at that bench. I see Steve Nash. I see D'Antoni. I don't know who is
Guys
gonna.
that don't teach defense.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't know who is gonna institute the
Like
principles of that
we have
zone, but
watched Steve Nash and D'Antoni. We watched those teams be electrifying. We watched Steve Nash with 2 MVPs and not get out the West. You know what I mean? We watched they had a
yeah,
lot of talent. They had him, they had Amari, they had Sean Marion, like they had teams. They had young Joe Johnson, like we were just talking about.
yeah,
But they didn't cover anyone, and that's why they couldn't do anything. If you think about the Mavericks, the year the Mavs won, there was a time where the Mavs were the same thing. They didn't D up. Then what did they do? They went and Jason Terry's a scrapper. They got Richard Jefferson. I think what was my man? Older Sean Marion. They finally went away from just wanting to outscore you to defending you. And LeBron punking out helped them some, but they still the
yeah.
fact is that you are not gonna win a championship just trying to outscore people. You're
Yeah,
not.
it's gonna be difficult. I mean, we'll see how it works. I mean, like I said, it's things. I think there are options out there. Like I just threw two out there that make sense. But it's like, are
Hmm.
they gonna do that? Are they
What are they
gonna,
gonna do? I think this
swallow their
zone
pride and
zone could work. That probably is how they could salvage things right now. With not even salvage, because I'm not gonna act like they're playing bad or that they're
yeah,
not still a threat. They're still an extreme threat. They're still probably considered the favorite in Vegas or whatever that's worth. But that's probably the way doing that would probably be how they stay
well, at some
afloat.
point between now and the playoffs, they need to address the bench and they need to address defense. Like that has to happen.
That's the two.
This team, as such, can't win. Can't win a second round matchup to me. They can't get out the second round to me
Not the way the
as
East is right now. This is not a weak East. Like I
yeah.
know, I know most our generation probably got used to the East not being good, all that. Miss me with that right now. It's about 16. It's Sixers, Celtics, Bucks, Nets, Miami when Jimmy's back. Like it's some teas over here. Like, yeah, you don't got Toronto this year. They kind of fell off, but you got to watch out. Atlanta is on the rise. They may
Yeah,
not beat
I'm into
someone
the
this
mix.
year, but they on the rise. You know what I mean? Because you know why? Lloyd Pierce has made them learn defense. They drafted DeAndre Hunter, and who is really turned into a good player. Clint Capella, we always know he was a beast defensively. John Collins does both things on both floors. You know what I mean, like the Hawks are coming. Like I know we've always said, oh, the West is the big powerful conference. I don't know about that right now. I think the East is in control right now.
I think the East has just as many good teams, if not more, right now. Um,
The
Now
West
the
might be a
West,
little deeper.
yeah, I was just gonna say, I think the West always still has that depth at the bottom. Because I mean, you still got
Yeah.
your Phoenixes, you still got your Pelicans, you still got those
Well,
teams that,
I don't know about the
you know,
Pelicans, but yeah, you got
yeah,
Phoenix, you got
but those
Memphis.
teams are
Mm-hmm.
they're gonna be around. They're gonna be
Mm-hmm.
around that seven, eight,
Denver,
nine.
Denver's struggling right now, but they're going to be there. Utah, Utah is good, man. Because the other night, Donovan Mitchell couldn't make a shot to save his life, and I kind of was clowning him. And then the next day, I found out he had a concussion. I was like, oh, now it makes sense why he couldn't make a shot to
Yeah,
save his life. Yeah, but they still won the game. They
yeah.
still were able
And that's
to
a
win
good
the
team.
game.
The
They are
the
good,
Jazz have been a good team. Last year, you got to remember in the bubble they did not have Bogdanovich,
hmm
so that's a
and
big
that's who.
part
Yep,
of the
that's a
team.
huge one. Yep,
Yeah,
that's who made up for it when him
yeah.
and Jordan Clarkson has been playing very well too. They were
Jordan
the
Clarkson's
two that.
sixth man of the year as of right now. As of right
Yeah,
now. I
probably.
mean, we still very early, but Jordan Clarkson to
Yeah,
me has been the
you
sixth
got
man of the year.
Clarkson, you got Shake, you got Chris Boucher or the Raptors. Michael Porter Jr. has been playing in as a six man in Denver. I know he's been hurt, but he dropped 30 the other night. But yeah, Clarkson probably is having right now because he's a sixth man on a top three team right now,
Yeah,
four team.
he's been bailing them out. Like
Yes,
a
yep,
lot of these
yep,
times he comes in and he gives them that spark, which is what a six man's supposed to do. So,
yep.
but like you said, the Jazz is a team that like I said, I think they should have been around last year. I think they should have been around longer than they were. But like I said, when you're missing players, that's what happens. Somebody gonna
And
get you.
they lost to a team that went to the West Finals too. They
Yeah,
lost to
exactly.
Denver. So,
Exactly. Now I want to talk real quick before we move off of NBA. Player of the week this past week, Joel Embiid, Nikola Jokic, two
mhm,
centers that play the center position. Now, they both do it differently,
mhm.
but they both to me the two of the top three, four candidates for MVP right now.
Yeah,
Um,
them two, Bron, KD. KD
K-
because of numbers.
yeah, you almost got to throw KD in there.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, KD gonna win comeback player of the year
yeah.
anyway, but yeah, but yeah, two center to see two centers playing the way that they play, win player of the week. It's just kind of emblematic that although we're in the modern NBA where shooting is king and positionless and all, there still is a spot for a 7 foot guy that plays like a 7 foot guy, on both ends. Because I mean,
hmm
both of those guys play the defense. They both rebound, but they can also both hit a shot, and they also make other players around them better.
Better,
Um,
absolutely. They are
and I
two.
feel,
They're the definition of modern day big men. I know that yes, they're not the biggest. Both of them aren't like stretch guys, even though they can hit the shot from three, they can do all that. But when I say they're the definition, is because they do everything. They can handle the ball, they can run the court, they can get down in the post and score. They both can pass, they both rebound, they both defend the basket. They are the type of big man that you can still build around and win with. Because we look at the NBA recently, if you look at all the championship teams recently, they haven't had a real big man. You had AD, but that wasn't AD's team. That's LeBron's team. You know what I mean? Like we have not had a championship team since maybe Duncan last time the Spurs won. And honestly, that team wasn't really built around him at that point anymore either. But we haven't had that in so long. But those two are what those two are the mesh of 90s, 2000s basketball, 2020
and
basketball.
I think that brings me to my point with just piggybacking off of them. Then you watch a kid like a James Wiseman,
Yeah, I
and you
was gonna
see,
shout him out when you were done. Yep.
yeah, and you see where the future of the game could be going. Like,
I like
you know,
Wiseman.
I think that to me, the future of the NBA is where you're gonna have those type of playmakers and those type of players, 3 level scorers, defenders, two-way players on in every position of the
Every
game. I think you're
position.
gonna
Yep.
have those. You're gonna have those guys, and it hasn't always been like that. We just gotta,
Nope.
just being honest. But I think that's where the NBA is going. That's where the
Yep.
talent pool is going, and that's where
It's
it's
gonna be guys like that can do both ends and score from everywhere, and then you're gonna have your rest of your lineup's going to be made up of sharpshooters. Your Seth Curry's, your Bogdan Bogdanovich's, your Joe Harris's. Like they're going to fill out the rest of the roster. They don't have to defend because they can shoot 50% from three. You know what I mean? Like
and as long
Kevin
as you get
Huter in Atlanta.
those guys, but like I think a lot of those guys they get I don't want to say a bad rap, but they don't get the credit they deserve because even those guys you gotta have defend up to some level to even make the court. And a lot of those guys, they may not be the most athletic, but they give the effort. Like a guy like Bogdanovich, watch Bogdanovich. He's not giving up what he's what
Oh yeah,
he's what he's putting
yeah,
on the
yeah.
other team. He's
Mm-hmm.
not giving that up on the other end,
Mm-hmm.
unless
I
he's
mean,
playing, a star. But he
yeah.
doesn't just routinely give up.
I think Bogdanovich is more in the role of the two-way player. I mean, I think he kind of is not what we're speaking of. More like Joe Harris is a shooter. Um, what's my man name on the Wizards? Bertans is a shooter.
Shooter, yeah, he's a
Seth
shooter.
Curry is a shooter. Gary Trent
But
is
Seth
a
is gonna give you
shooter.
effort.
Seth
Those
gives you
all those
effort,
guys,
yes,
Gary
but
Trent,
Seth is a
Seth.
starter because he's shooting 50% from
Oh
three.
yeah, no, yeah, for sure. But that's
And
what I'm
that's
saying. But
why
that's
he's a starter.
but those guys, like I think you can't discount, especially a guy like a Gary Trent. He's giving effort. He's balling. He's playing D.
Oh, yeah, I- Trent is a young player who is still developing. He might end
Yeah.
up being more of a two-way guy. Like I'm trying to think of somebody that he reminds me of that developed into a more of a steady thing. Um, hmm,
I mean, a lot of,
yeah,
I mean, a guy you might not even really think of like that, but a JJ Redick. To me, JJ Redick has always been a shooter, but he's always held his own defensively. Like I mean, he's not locking anybody up, but
nah,
he's
bro,
not gonna.
he's a liability. I watched him on my team for 3 years. Defensive liability. We had to take
Well,
him
no,
out sometimes at the end of the
you
game.
talking about? I'm talking about more Orlando Magic
Oh,
JJ.
okay.
I'm not really talking about Sixers and Pelicans JJ.
You
Nah,
talking
that's
about
different.
Orlando and Clippers? All right, I'm like, hold on,
Yeah,
nah,
yeah, yeah.
I can't give you
I'm
that
talking.
one.
Yeah, I'm
He
talking
was
about
getting baked out
prime
there.
JJ. Yeah, prime JJ. That's what I'm talking.
Yeah,
Like, I
I'm
mean,
about to say, I don't
and
know
I'm not
about
talking
that
about these
guy.
guys being elite. I'm just
Mhm.
saying that these, like, even a guy like a Chris Middleton, you don't think of him as a good defender, but Chris
Oh
Middleton is a
no, Chris
two-way player.
Middleton can play defense. Yeah, Chris Middleton's
Yeah,
a
he's a
two-way.
two-way.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a two-way
Gary
guy.
Trent, all right, this is what I mean. Like Gary Trent to me is kind of gonna go. Remember how early in Kyle Lowry's career, you seen it, you thought he was going to be a good player, but he just did his specialty
Yeah.
role things for Houston. But as he
Mm-hmm.
kept getting better, and once he got to Toronto, he became an all-star. That's what I
Yeah.
think Trent's gonna be. I think Trent
Yeah,
has an
I can see that.
all-around game. Whereas once he gets away from Portland, and maybe not even away from Portland, it might happen in Portland if CJ or Dane is not there, because he's a two guard, so he can't really do it with those guys there. But I have him more in the mode of developing into a starting shooting guard that could do everything.
I can see
Kind of
that.
like
I can
what I
definitely see
see
that.
with Maxi and Emmanuel quickly and those guys.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. I could definitely see that. But I say that to say, I think that as we already know, the NBA arrow is headed up. Like it's
Oh, big time.
definitely getting to the point where you're gonna have stars at every position again, and then it's gonna be those type of dynamic stars that can do it all. Like even a guy like a Zion, for his body type, he can do more than what you would think a normal guy that looks like that would be able to do. Like I've seen,
Zion's
we've
a
seen him.
freak.
Yeah, we've seen him bring the
Zion
ball up.
is a freak. Like Zion, man, it's actually kind of like he's not being talked about as much this year because the Pelicans have not played the type of basketball we expected them to. But he's like averaging 23 points and 12 rebounds a game. Like he is living
He's
up
automatic.
to all the
Yeah.
hype of a number one pick. Now, he's not the best player on his team. That's Brandon Ingram. And that's okay because Brandon Ingram is very, very good also. But him,
Top pick. So
yeah, he's number two pick, right? Well, I've been, yeah.
yeah.
Like, so Zion is another, like, yes, that's what the NBA is going to. Like, Zion is 6'7", 6'8", and he can do it all. No one even thinks about his height. He will yam it on you. He can't shoot yet, but the way he drives, like I said to my dad, my dad and my uncles, we have a group chat. We talk about everything sports wise, just like I do with you and Marvin Hitch. Zion's offense, the way he plays with offense, is all I want Ben to do all the time. Because Zion don't shoot either, but Zion stays aggressive. He goes to the basket at all times with reckless abandon. And I'm like, Ben, you're more graceful than him. Your handle's better than him. So there's no question that you can do it. And it's all in his head. Because if you watched him yesterday, he knew he was playing LeBron. And every time he plays LeBron, he balls. Every time. And that's why I
This
just
one
say
time he, this one time he killed me though. It was like late down the stretch. Might have been end of third.
he tried a
Probably I
little
think
turtle.
no. Towards the end of the fourth, I think it was, and it was an offensive rebound, and they kicked it out to him. And for a second, he was open, and I thought for that 1 second he was gonna pull it. Yeah, it was definitely fourth because I feel like if he'd have hit that, that would have been a go ahead bucket, and then I think that could have changed
We were
things for him.
already up. I know you're talking about. We were already up. He dished it to
Yeah,
Seth, and then Seth missed it, and then they came down. That's when they took the lead.
yeah. If he takes that three, hits that three, not he's not going to become a 3-point shooter. I know that, but I
No, but
think
it
that
helps the
you
confidence.
you hit yeah exactly. You hit a game winner against the Lakers, like you said, against Bron of a wide open three. That could change things. And he didn't pull. They
But I'm
rotated.
glad he didn't
It
pull
didn't
because he
happen.
was not making it. I'm glad he did not shoot it because he was not making it. No, he was
Hey
not
man,
making it. Like,
but that's
that's
the
my
type of shot
guy.
you gotta take though. You gotta take it. You can't make it
Hey,
unless you take it.
hey, he can't shoot the three, man. He's not going to be able to shoot the three. He's going to get lucky once every 30 times he takes it. If he even takes 30 in the season, he's not a
Yeah, I'm about to
three-point
say he ain't
shooter.
taking 30.
Yeah, I don't
Hey,
need him to be a three-point shooter. I don't need him to shoot threes. I need him to be what he was last night, every night. 29 and 9.
hey, it was effective. I will say that.
Yes.
Yeah, whenever he does play that, he's very effective. So, all right, let's change gears. Let's
Oh, real
talk.
quick, it's
Oh,
to say, like, I was watching the Warriors, and I don't know how many people are really watching as much as I watch late night games. James Wiseman's the real deal. Anthony Edwards had a
oh
good
yeah.
game last night too. Edwards had like 25 points, not the most efficient 25, but you can see that he's going to be a big time scorer in the NBA.
He missing too much for me to judge him at all. No cat,
Yeah, it's
no
still
Russell.
early,
He's
exactly,
he
but
he
for
got
him to
he's gonna
still
be
be able
inefficient.
to,
Yeah,
yeah,
he's gonna be
that's
inefficient
why like
because
I'm not worrying about how it happened. I watch his game more than anything. But Wiseman is so effortless, man. He could score, he could shoot, he runs the court, he could block shots. He's a good passer. Like Edwards, yeah, you went number one, and I'm not even saying that's a bad pick or anything. I think he's going to be fit that team well, but I think if Wiseman was on a team with Cat and
yeah,
D'Angelo Russell, the Timberwolves might have took another step up. I know those two players aren't playing right now, and I'm more speaking down the future.
yeah,
But
yeah,
Wiseman is the real deal, man.
yeah.
I was on the fence during draft time because I just did not see enough of him while he was at Memphis. We all know why he didn't play, got in trouble, blah BS. But dude, he's nice, and he might have just fell into the perfect situation because when you watch when he goes to the bench or whenever he makes a mistake or anything, Draymond is right there talking to him, and
Yeah,
that is what's going to grow him.
yeah, for sure. I think he is. It's always it's usually the diamond in the rough rookies that land on a good team
A good
because they
team,
you know they fall in the draft and then you see them have that rapid development. Hey, hell,
like Maxie, yeah,
Draymond was that.
yeah. But I'm
Draymond was
saying
the
same
second round pick.
situation, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Fell,
Fall
went
on good
to the,
team,
the Warriors, and look what Draymond became.
yep.
Um, and I see the same thing for I'm sorry, damn, that
Wiseman,
quick. Wiseman, except he's not a
he got
diamond in the rough.
lucky.
He
Yeah, he got
he
lucky.
is the crown jewel. Like everybody
He
knew he
got
was going to
lucky.
be great,
Yep.
but
He
him
got
being
lucky
there, I
because
think,
they had a bad year.
yeah.
Those injuries
So,
set his
you know,
career up
you know what,
perfectly.
you know what he reminds me of? Uh, similar to a Tim Duncan situation.
Yeah, where San Antonio wasn't bad at that time. Dave Robinson gets hurt. They shut everything
Yeah,
down. Bang. Dunk into
now,
the
now you win a
Spurs.
championship. Yeah,
And like we know Golden State was not a bad team. And we see it now. Like they don't even have Clay back. They just have Steph, and Steph is balling out his mind. And then right back in the mix. No, they're probably not a championship team, but they're definitely going to be a
they're
4,
getting it
5,
together.
6
They
seed. Like they're
pulling
going to be
together.
in the
Yeah.
playoff. And that's just perfect for where Wiseman landed like that. He got lucky. Like you said, he landed in a great spot. And I know many people were like, oh, they should have took LaMelo. And LaMelo's playing well too, but Wiseman is everything they needed. They have
Yeah, I'm
not
about to
had a
say
real
Washington is
big
exactly what
man.
they need. Yeah.
They have not had a real big man since Bogut.
Yeah, I think
They
everything
tr-
happened the way it was supposed to. they got what they needed, and Charlotte needs LaMelo way more
Oh,
than
yeah,
the
absolutely.
Warriors need him. So, I think that that worked out the way it was supposed to. Like you said, I like Wiseman a lot, man. I liked him going into the draft. I like him even more now.
Yeah. Yeah, we could go.
Yeah, let's skip over the NFL real quick, man. I mean, we had to. I mean, where you want to? Where did we start? Where did we start? Let's start with uh the conference championship games from last week. So,
I know I watched.
uh,
I wasn't sorry to Tom Brady and Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I'm done. I'm not. I'm done even thinking Brady is like not gonna go to the Super Bowl if he's in a championship game. For him to come to the NFC and go to the Super Bowl in year one. And he didn't do it on no fluky stuff. He beat the Saints and Drew Brees. I know Drew
three
Brees' arm a little shaky. Then he goes into Lambeau and beats Aaron Rodgers, right? And now he's got to play Mahomes. If he beats Mahomes for a Super Bowl, it might be time to start talking about he might be the greatest athlete of all time. Not
three
just a
three three road games to get a home Super Bowl. We never
Wow,
seen it.
I never even thought about that. You're right,
We
because the
never seen
first
it.
game was against. We never seen a home Super Bowl game. Yeah, he had first game was in Washington. I didn't even think about that because it was Washington.
Yeah, three road games to get a home Super
Mm,
Bowl. I'm
wow, I
like,
didn't even think
what
about
can
that.
you say? Now, like you said,
Yeah,
I'm gonna apologize to Brady and any Brady fan that told me different, because you couldn't have told me nothing about Aaron Rodgers going into that game.
me
I'm
either.
gonna
That
be
was
honest
like
with you.
I thought they was gonna smoke him.
Yeah. So, and that just goes to show you, man, greatness is as greatness does. Like when 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 end of the second half, when Brady went, and it was clearly Brady going off script. Brady said, "Nah, we going for this," and to come up with a touchdown at a possibly going for a long field goal that you probably were going to miss at
Mm-hmm.
the end of that half, that changed the game. And like I like, what can you say? What can you like? You
It
cannot.
punched it. It punched the Packers in the mouth. Like the Packers kind of was things was settled. You know what I mean? They were gonna go in down 4 points, I think, nothing too crazy. And then he hit you with a haymaker right before the half. You know the Packers went to the locker room like, what just happened? Like, how did he do that? And I give credit to Scotty Miller too. He ran the right route. He got open. He ran by Kevin King. But if you see, Brady was looking that way from Rick. You
Yeah,
know what I mean? Like
yeah.
it was
It's
from the
going to.
start. Exactly. He was going that way. Like that was a huge pass. And it's something like that. It just stamps what I'm saying. Like, man, if he goes and beats Mahomes in the Super Bowl, I respect Jordan. And I know Tiger Woods is on that list. But Brady would have done something I've never seen before. Like, he dominated the AFC for so long. He picks his own team he wants to pick in the NFC. And he goes and wins 3 road games, like you said, against probably the MVP in Aaron Rodgers, the future best quarterback in Patrick Mahomes. And it's his first year with that team. Like, I'm sorry. Like, at that point, I'm like, I don't know if I can say anyone else has had a greater sports career than that.
Yeah,
Because he shut up the Belichick stuff. That's dead. Nobody better never, ever say Brady's a product of Belichick again. That's
yeah.
over.
Yeah, that's what I want to talk to. And I was never in that school. I want to talk to all the Tom Brady's the system quarterback dudes. That's who I want to talk to. I want them
Well,
to
if that
explain
if he is, he the system. He a system quarterback. The system is Brady. TB12.
exactly, because it's like
That's the
what's
system.
because that same system didn't work for Cam, but it damn whatever Brady doing is damn sure working.
Man, listen, that dude's a beast. Like I had stopped doubting him after the Falcons come back because that was something I never seen before either. Like that was crazy too, right? So after he comes back with the Falcons, that's what I'm like. All right, I'm done saying his Super Bowls are fluky because before that one he had Spygate, and then he had the Seahawks being silly on the 1 yard line, not giving it to Marshawn. But then when he came back, it was a 28-3 on the Falcons. That was more crazy. Then we beat them, but that was a great game. He had 500 passing yards. It was just a great Super Bowl. We happened to
Most
pull it
passing
out.
yards ever in the Super Bowl.
Exactly. We just happened to get the W. Then he comes back the following year. And they beat the Rams. Rams played terrible, but whatever. They got it done. Then he leaves, goes to the other conference, and goes to the Super Bowl. Like that's it's storybook stuff, to be honest. Like
Yeah.
I know
It's a
people kind
movie.
of talked about it in the beginning of the year, like, oh yeah, the Bucks could go to the Super Bowl. But I was always like, year one? Like, come on, man. How many people could do that? Like, we don't see stuff like that. We have now.
Yeah, yeah. I'm about to say this is history. We watch it, and that's what it is. Sometimes it's surreal when you're watching history because
Mm-hmm.
it's like you're almost like, nah, it can't happen, it can't.
Mm-hmm.
But this is history. This is all history making stuff. Now, looking at the other side of it, you got Patrick Mahomes
Oh
coming
yeah.
off a pretty strong game against a team that looks very strong going into it. Like if you'd have told me there's a shot of Buffalo upsetting Kansas City, I wouldn't have laughed you out of the room.
Yeah.
I'd have entertained it. I thought the
Mm-hmm.
Chiefs would win it, but I'd have
Yeah.
entertained it. They had the piece. But
I
what we
thought they
saw
had more of a
on that
chance than the
field,
Bucks.
yeah.
I thought
But
they
what
had
we
more of a
saw,
chance than the Bucks.
yeah, what we saw on that field, not even close.
Not
Not
even
even
close.
close.
One
The
close.
score was closer than what the game was.
Yeah, one close. No.
So,
The
like I
Chiefs
said,
Chiefs smashed them.
can't yeah, we're not going to doubt Brady, but I'm also I can't give him an advantage over Mahomes and what they got going on. Now,
No, yeah, I agree. I'm not just giving him the bowl. Absolutely not. And that's why I'm saying if he pulls it off, he's the guy. If he beats that Kansas City team, I'm done.
yeah,
Like that's
yeah,
it. He's the guy.
yeah.
He is
Because
the athlete
I mean,
of all
taking
athletes.
nothing away from Brady. That first half was an all-time first half, but the second half against Green
He
Bay,
struggled.
that wasn't all that. It wasn't
Nope.
that wasn't impressive as the first
Oh,
half. So if you have one of those, to me, especially Kansas City, especially Mahomes, you can't have a second half like that because they're
oh
known
no,
to spot
you
you
throw two
a
interceptions in
couple
a row.
touchdowns.
Yeah, you throw two interceptions in a row on two drives against the Chiefs, they putting up points. Because
Yeah,
that was where the Packers, in my opinion, like
that's
some
why they
people
lost
were
the
trying
game.
some people
No,
try
that's
to
why they
say,
lost the game.
yeah, some people try to blame the defense, Kevin King and
No,
all of
hell
that. But
no. Hell no. No,
I'm like,
Kevin
yeah,
King got his ass roasted.
that's what I'm
Don't get
saying.
it.
Like, yeah,
But
he didn't
it's
play
not. It's
well.
not on him. It's not
Yeah,
on him what the
he
loss.
didn't play well, and we're going. He gets his blame, but you can't put it all on him. Like that defense gave Rodgers two opportunities to flip that game,
Yeah,
two back to back, and they went and did nothing with it. They punted the ball twice.
yeah. That's where they lost the game. And to me,
That's where he
after
lost the game.
after that, then sometimes when you can go on a roll in a good way, and you can go on a roll in a bad way. So I think after those two possessions of two straight turnovers, you get the ball, you go 3-and-out. Then when they got into the red zone, that on that last drive, that's I think that bad
Mental.
roll it got to because on two possessions back to back, they both made two mental errors to me. On the
Didn't run it. Mm-hmm.
third down, the whole right side of the end zone is open. If I think under any normal circumstance, Aaron Rodgers runs it and puts the ball over that pylon and gets that touch. We've seen him do it so many times. But I think in that situation, you're already, up against it. And
Now,
then
this is what I say. I don't know if he'd have got there because if you see the play, he had the angle, yes, and Rodgers has some speed. But Murphy Bunting and Devin White were right there on Devontae Adams. That's why when he threw it, he had no chance of catching that pass.
yeah, but
So,
I feel
yeah, I
like
think Adams might. I mean, Rodgers probably would have. I'm giving him the athleticism benefit of the doubt that he probably would have beat them to the corner. But even if he didn't, he was going to get to like the 2 yard line, and you
yeah,
got to go for that. And I think what I was going to say is my reason for saying it is I think he didn't run because he thought they were going for on fourth down.
true. That makes sense. That makes and that's what that's what leads me to my next thing. So you don't run, you don't get that touchdown, and then you take the MVP of the NFL off the field, fourth down in a potential game winning drive. If if they were down one, then okay.
Yep.
But
Down,
even down one, you can't give Tom Brady the ball with an opportunity to beat you, we've seen how that works. We've seen how that
Yep.
goes down.
Yep. Unless you're
So
going to strip sack him, you're going to lose.
yeah,
Hey,
yeah,
just not to just
yeah,
talk about my own team, but when
yeah,
they were when the Pats came back on the field and we was only up 5 because we had got the turnover. I'm like, yo, we got to score a
yeah. You
touchdown,
got to take the ball
right?
away.
We had to score a touchdown and we didn't, and I was afraid because it's Brady. If you're not going to force a turnover right there, you're going to lose.
Yeah,
He's not
yeah,
going to lose that game. He's not.
yeah. And that's exactly what you do. You can't give him the ball back with any type of time
Absolutely
to
not.
beat you. So I mean, mistakes were made. Let's just say that, and that leads us to our next topic. Um, Mistakes were made there, and I think that mistakes there and mistakes in other places in the league is going to have some serious ramifications going forward. I think we're going to see a lot of movement this offseason. I think we've already seen a lot of movement as far as coaches. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what we up to? Seven,
7.
seven new
I think
head
it was
coaches.
7 different teams. You had the Eagles, Sirianni, Texans did today, Cully, Sala with the Jets, um, Dan Campbell with the Lions. That's the wildest one.
Yeah.
Uh,
Smith,
and you
Arthur
got
Smith,
Arthur Smith with the Chargers.
Urban Meyer,
No, Urban Myers with Jacksonville. I'm sorry. Arthur Smith is with the Falcons. I'm sorry.
the Falcons. Yeah,
Urban Meyer is with the Chargers. And then Brandon Staley is with the Chargers. He's from the Rams. Like, yeah, 7 different coaches. That's a big coaching change. Like we usually see couple, 3, 4 every off season, but 7, that's a big swing. And I think
and
it's
now
gonna
go ahead.
I think it's gonna show I think it's gonna be what starts a full circle in the NFL because also not just the coaching changes, but you have Phil Rivers is retiring. Drew Brees is probably going to retire. Uh, Ben Roethlisberger may not retire, but he's getting older. Um, we're going to see changes with Watson's going to build a new team. It's a chance that Jared Goff is on a new team. Matthew Stafford, you might have Carson Wentz. Like it's a lot of movement
Lot,
is
yeah,
getting
a
ready
lot
to
of.
happen in the NFL.
But yeah, and I want to talk a little bit more about the actual quarterback movements. I think for me, I'm always going to say that's the most important position in football. So that's most
Absolutely.
important. But with these coaches, I mean, I'm looking down this list and I'm saying, looking at these names, and the number one thing that sticks out to me is not a lot of coaching experience.
Yeah. Yep.
Not
None
not
of them.
not a lot of NFL had no none of them have been
None of
NFL
them. None
coaches.
of them been head coaches before. Yep, they're all, and I actually think that's a good thing. I'm not into the retread coach thing. The only guy that was a coach before that I think I would have given another chance to is Todd Bowles because he was with the Jets, and I think the Jets are just such a bad organization that I cannot fully grade a coach off of that situation. So Bowles is the guy I probably would have like, okay, you give him another chance. But outside of that, I'm not hiring Adam Gase again. Come on. What's my man name that got fired from the Chargers? Anthony Lynn, maybe, but I think he should
I'm
go
about to
to
say Anthony Lynn's a guy.
Anthony
Yeah, I
Lynn,
think
maybe.
coordinator is more for him right now.
That's what I was going to say. Maybe he'd be a coordinator for a year or two again, then he'll get another chance, kind of like what Jason Garrett's trying to do. But I like that it's new blood, new coaching. I don't the retread thing to me never makes sense because I'm like we've seen the guy fail before. I know you do have some guys like that are able to turn it around. Like Belichick went to the Pats
Andy
after
Reid.
being really
I
good.
think of Andy Reid when you think, because to
But
me,
Andy Reid,
I think
I don't consider Andy Reid a retread. Andy Reid did not get fired by the Eagles because of not being successful. I mean, the time that just
that's
ran
what I'm
out.
saying. No, but I feel like that's you have that some coaches they get fired because they of poor performance, and some coaches get they part ways or they get fired
Yeah, I
just
think
because
we
it's a
just didn't have
different
that this
direction.
cycle. The next guy that's going to happen to is Tomlin and Sean Payton. When they're let go, and maybe even Jim Harbaugh, when they're let go, they should get jobs immediately, just like Andy Reid, because they didn't
Yeah,
lose their job
I think
due
Jim
to not.
Harbaugh is a guy that's one guy that I definitely would
Yeah,
say.
Harbaugh, Sean Payton, and Tomlin. They to me would fall under the Andy Reid thing. Like, no, they were not bad coaches. They just their time ran. Now you can't be a coach somewhere for 20 years. You know what I mean? Like we
Yeah,
had Andy
it's
at
not.
Philly for so long. Like it has to move on at some point.
Yeah. So, all right. So, like I said, I wanted to just, touch on that aspect of the coaching hires. Now, let's move on. Like you said, quarterback is looking like a whole
Oh yeah,
carousel of different guys and different players. I mean,
something we
the
never seen
biggest
before.
news, the big news came today. Deshaun Watson officially requested a trade. Now he actually did it prior in private, but now with them finally hiring a head coach and him not being moved by that, he's making it a public
Well, you
thing.
know he didn't do that. You know he didn't do this, right?
Oh,
Schefter
they
said it
did.
earlier. They did it. He said it's
Yeah,
the
they did.
Texans that made it. He said the Texans is who called all the media sources and stated that he requested a trade. And I guess they did that because Watson must have found out about the coach and still didn't want to be there. So they're
Yeah,
like, okay, we have to let it be known now that
yeah.
we have
Now we
to
gotta start
pursue
moving.
this route.
Yeah, we
They
gotta
were
start
trying
moving.
to save it. They were trying to save the relationship with the coach, and it's not going that way. He wants out.
Yeah, I mean, and if he wants out, he's gonna get it. He's gonna get what he wants because to me, I don't think that there's really any real risk in him sitting out because he's
No,
gonna
he
get
already
signed
got
and he's gonna
paid.
get paid. Yeah, that's what I'm
He
saying.
already
So
got paid. Like,
so they gotta. But I think this can also, in that particular situation, can be a good thing for Houston to me. Now, you never want to lose a franchise quarterback, but they're never going to have this opportunity to come up off that type of money and at the same time possibly bring in that amount of assets to
yep,
rebuild with.
absolutely.
I don't
Yeah,
I
they
don't
got
think you ever have this opportunity.
this has never happened before. I know every time I say that to people, they're like, "Oh, well, Herschel Walker got traded for a whole bunch." I'm like, "Yeah, cool, but he really only got traded for one round, one pick. He got traded for a lot of players. It was a big deal, yeah, but he was not a 25-year-old franchise quarterback. We have never
Yeah, no, we never seen nothing like
seen something like this, so I kind of don't even think people understand what type of deal he may get dealt for. Like the Texans, if they do it right, like you're saying should come out well. Like, yeah,
that. Yeah,
you're not gonna have Watson, who's a freak. Man, I like dude so much. I got his college jersey in my closet. Like, that's one of my favorite players. Um, so I'm hoping that he goes. Like for me, I want the Miami thing to come to fruition. I think that's best for his
makes the
career.
most sense.
Yeah,
I think
exactly.
my the two options to me are that make the most sense is Miami and the Jets, New York Jets. Now, it all
I
it
hope he doesn't go
depends.
to the Jets at all.
It can depend how you feel about Tua and Sam Darnold. And I say that to say that I can see why you can look at Sam Darnold and still see a lot of potential there. Because like you said before, the
No, he's not.
Jets is not the best front organization. They haven't had the
Yeah.
best coaching, and he was a talent coming out of college. So I can see where you could look at Sam Darnold and that number two pick and say, well, that's a good start. But like I said, same thing. Like I said, other ways how you see Tua. Tua's a winner. You look at
Mm-hmm.
Tua and you look at that number three pick, and you give yourself an opportunity to one, you get your new franchise young quarterback on a rookie deal, and two, you get the number three pick to improve your team, and then
Mm-hmm.
whatever else they're gonna throw in there, maybe another number one, maybe some second rounders. Who knows
Hey,
what gets
just
thrown into it?
listening to Schefter earlier, man, he said it starts at 3-1s.
Yeah,
He
that's
said
what
it
I'm saying. Like,
starts
who
at three
knows?
ones, and then like he kind of said
But Tua is
he
almost a
brought.
one.
No, that's I was
Tua
gonna say that he
almost
brought.
counts as a one.
I was gonna say exactly that. Like he brought up the Dolphins for that. He said you got Tua, that's 1-1. Then you got the third pick in this draft, that's another one, and then you give them their first round pick next year. That's where it starts. That's
Yeah,
the
that's what it's stuff.
beginning
And then you
conversation.
might have
And
you
then if
got
you get
bidding.
other teams involved, it's gonna go
Yeah,
up even more. I
yeah,
really don't think we understand what this guy is going to be traded for.
yeah,
Just like we
yeah.
didn't
It's go.
understand what Mahomes was going to get paid, because that shit is still crazy to me, how much he got paid.
Yeah,
I don't
it's gonna
think
be
we
similar.
understand when we see the deal that happens for Deshaun Watson. I think we're all going to be blown away.
Yeah, similar wow factor with this. Now, like you mentioned, it's some other quarterbacks that either already we know they're going to be on the move, a la Matt Stafford, or some guys that potentially could be. I mean, you got
Oh, before
Dak.
you go to
Dak is
the
not
other one,
signed.
before you go to the other ones, I know you said the Jets is the other one you could see happening. And from a Texans perspective, agreed. But from a Deshaun, because we have to remember, Deshaun Watson has a no trade clause. So he
That's true.
has
That's
a
true.
lot of control in this situation. And I know that the name Jets was floated around as he's open to that. But if I'm him, I have to look at their history and I got to say, no, I cannot go there. Because yes, the bright lights in New York and all that stuff. But the Jets have not been successful and they have not even shown that they can build a franchise in a long time. If I'm Watson, I'm staying away from New York Jets. I'm going to Miami,
They got a better
Atlanta.
team. Miami has a
It's what I'm
better
saying.
team.
Miami, Atlanta, who was the other one I said? Even the Colts or San Francisco. Those are the four. If I'm Watson, I'm trying to get to Miami,
Yeah.
Atlanta, Indianapolis, San Francisco.
And I mean, if you look at, I mean, I would say that Miami has the better roster. Depending how you feel about Salah and
Oh, you
Flores.
talking
I
about
like
Jets?
Flores. Yeah, Jets might
I
have the
think
better coach.
Miami blows the Jets away without a problem. Out of the four, I would say I think Miami's right there, but I think San Fran probably has the best roster.
Yeah, 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 well, yeah, for sure. San Fran's the better
It all
roster,
depends.
better
Like, and
coach.
they have better coach. They have the assets too. They could give up Garoppolo, even though I don't know what the Texans would feel about him and
Yeah,
his injury.
I
Yeah,
don't know
I
about
would
that.
rather get Tua, but they could
Yeah,
give up Garoppolo. They have one. They had their first round pick this year, which is pretty high because they did not have a good year. I think it's like 13 or something around that range. Um, they also could add somebody like Brandon Ayuk or Debo Samuel to the deal. I would prefer Samuel to go instead of Ayuk because I think Ayuk's going to be big time. But they can put together a nice package out there for him. And
yeah.
if I'm
I think
him,
we're gonna
I'm
see some
only
teams get creative. I think we're gonna see some
real.
teams
Yeah, yeah,
step up to the plate. Like I
yep.
said, I mean, and to tie it in, I think that this is not the only one that we're gonna see. I think it's other players out there. We talked earlier. I still not convinced that Aaron Rodgers is a Packer next year because while I know the word is he's just coming off an NFC Championship game, but he's also the MVP of the league. Let's not act like the reason why they're
Absolutely,
that good isn't him. He's the reason
absolutely.
why. Now I love Devontae Adams. Don't get me wrong, but he's a big reason why Devontae Adams is what he is.
Oh yeah,
He
you can't. It's
he
hard to
brought
be
he.
that good without a quarterback.
So I feel like there are teams that that Rodgers could go to and be in a better situation. To me, the number one team that sticks out to me is the Rams. You give him that Rams defense, you give him those weapons. Come on. You put him with McVay, it might get crazy. You look at
I
the 49ers, same thing. Defense, weapons, coach. I like I'm saying, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but like I said, if you got to think about it, to me, if I think about it from Aaron Rodgers' point of view, this could be something that has already been like, of course, yes, he had a great year. Of course, they got to the NFC Championship.
but they still
But
drafted Jordan Love.
exactly, Aaron Rodgers could have already. This could already been in his head from last season.
Mm-hmm,
Oh, y'all traded up to get a quarterback. Y'all didn't
mm-hmm.
get me one weapon in the draft. Cool. I'm gonna show y'all what I can do, and I'm out. And this
See,
could be something that's already been in the works. That's what I'm saying. And to me, I don't think it's outside the realm of possibility. Unless he won the Super Bowl, I think it's not outside the realm of possibility.
I won't say it's impossible because nothing's impossible, but I'll say this: I think being a legacy Packer is important to him. I think the fact of being with them from beginning to end and everything that community and that franchise means to him. Because we got to remember, the Packers are not a normal franchise. They're ran by their fans, all that type of stuff. It's a little different. And I think he was more speaking out of emotion. Your Jordan Love
Oh
point
yeah,
is
for sure.
valid. That's probably the one thing I can see if he does force a trade. I think it was in his head well before this season. That's a valid point. If he wants to go, it's because of what they did with the Jordan Love stuff, not adding assets to help him reach a Super Bowl, all that type of stuff. And then maybe that fourth down thing might have pushed him over the edge. Maybe. But when I think about it all together, Packers defense is pretty good and it's growing. They're young. Rashawn Gary finally started to show off this year. The Smith brothers, they're not real brothers, but we know they're very good. Jari is a monster. Kevin King had a bad NFC Championship game, but
He
Kevin
was
King's
hurt,
a
man.
good player. Yes,
He's also
yeah,
coming off an injury.
he's a
That's
good
jokes.
player.
That's jokes. He's
Yeah,
coming off an
exactly.
injury.
Agreed.
I'm not really sure.
Amos at safety is a good player. He is a good player. Like, so
Mhm.
I think the Packers have a very good team. We got Devontae Adams. They have Aaron Jones. They probably this year are going to take that receiver. You know what I mean? Like, let's just say this is probably not going to happen at all. But say Jalen Waddle fell. And you put Jalen Waddle on that Packers team across from Devontae Adams. And it don't even have to be Jalen Waddle. It could be
Nah, it's some good.
Rashad Bateman. Yeah,
No,
it could
yeah,
be
some
Rashad
good guys
Bateman.
later in
It
the.
could be
No,
Terrence
and that's the
Marshall.
thing.
Like, I just think like I know the Rams, that's a good one. Maybe the Rams possibly could be an upgrade, possibly because of their defense, Aaron Donald, Jalen Ramsey, Cooper Cup, Robert Woods, Cam Akers is a young back that's gonna grow. They're possibly that's the one that could push. But outside of that, I don't see too many places he could go to that is an upgrade over the Green Bay situation.
That's what I'm saying. It's all hypothetical, and it like I said, I say Rams, I say 49ers. Those are the only two real that I say would be possibly even just as good, if not better.
Mm-hmm.
But
About Stafford, where do you think
yeah.
Stafford going up?
So that brings me to my other point. Now, like I said before, Dak Prescott is still not signed.
Mm.
Now, this is my nightmare scenario: is that the Cowboys come to the realization that Stafford is one a better value, and two possibly a better. I don't want to say it, he's not a better quarterback, in my opinion, than Dak, but he could be a better. He can be a better fit for what the Cowboys would have wanted to do. Like all right. So when you have certain personnel, you have to do a certain. You have to rock with what you got at that time. So
Mm-hmm.
Dak was a certain type of quarterback. He's a very safe quarterback. He doesn't turn the ball over, and he's efficient. But Matt Stafford is a guy that likes to throw the ball down the field.
Oh yeah.
Matt Stafford going to air it out. We know how Matt Stafford plays. Not necessarily what I would want, but I could see that's box office in Dallas. A guy that's throwing the ball, that's box office. I mean, that's always what Jerry wants. And unfortunately, in Dallas, the owner is the GM, and he gets what he wants. So
he is king.
And I can see that scenario.
Dallas is Russia, and he is Putin.
Exactly. I can see that situation. Hey, dog, I'm never going to argue that point. It is what it is. I can't do nothing about it.
Yeah,
You can have a situation where, they see Stafford is a cheaper option. They rock with that. They part ways with that. They really don't have to. That doesn't strap them at all, and they can actually use that capital to go out and spend a little bit on that defense. Go build that defense, then draft defense. I can see that scenario. I hope not. Like I said, it's my nightmare. But at the same time, I can't say it don't make football sense. I can't say that.
As an Eagles fan, I hope that happens because I'm sorry. Stafford's good. Yeah, Stafford's very good. Dak is young and Dak is a winner. Like Stafford has not won as much as Dak. And yes, Dak hasn't got out of the second round or any of that, but he's been in the league for what? This is year 4. He got hurt for year 5. Like I would not understand moving on from Dak at this point. I would be open and love that y'all did that. Just like I like that you picked CeeDee Lamb and did not address your defense last year. I've said from the beginning, CeeDee Lamb's a big time player, but it did not make that team better. I do not think Matt Stafford makes them better. I think you re-sign Dak. Yes, he is a financial hit. He's going to cost because he's good. He's supposed to cost. He's big time. But I would be happy if that is how it played out and y'all went with Stafford because yes, Stafford's good, but Stafford does not have as many years left as Dak. So y'all can have him for 2 or 3 more years, and then you're going to be looking for another quarterback. Whereas Dak, you got him for 7, 8 more years. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
I would be. It makes football sense where you say, like you said, you can spread the money and use it to build the defense. I think y'all got to pay. What's his name? No, you don't got to pay anybody yet. Jalen Smith has his money, right?
yeah,
Vander Esch. No, he didn't get paid yet, but he's got the injury thing, so that's a
yeah.
question
Next
mark.
year,
Yeah. So I, I would love if y'all did not bring back Dak, but I think that team loves him too much for Jerry to go another way. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
I feel like they are
like,
like that's their guy, that's their quarterback. Like I think it would be rough for Stafford to get that locker room behind him
yeah.
because they would be so
I agree.
upset that Dak's gone.
I
Like
agree. Um,
I
I
would not
think,
think that was smart at all. I actually think Stafford is going to end up in Indianapolis. I think that's the best situation for both sides. You know what I mean? Like the Indianapolis coach, they can give the Lions a first round pick. It's not a top 15 pick or anything like that. It'd be in the 20s. It allows the Lions to have two first round picks. They'll have the seventh pick and they'll have whatever the coach is. I can't remember off the top of my head. I think it's like 22 or 23. And then they could take a quarterback at 7. Maybe the kid Zach Wilson will be there, or they could combine both picks and move up and go get Justin Fields. And that allows
yeah,
the Lions to keep moving right then and there. And the Colts on their end, they would Stafford comes in and plays that same role Rivers played, but at a higher level, and he's younger, so it'd be a few more years. Jonathan Taylor's behind him. He got a great runner. He has a big time offensive line in front of him with Quentin Nelson and Costanzo. Like
bring
that
back
line's
them
there.
receivers healthy.
Michael Pittman Jr. is going to be a big time receiver, I think.
Don't forget about
You
Paris
get
Campbell.
that was just going to say Paris Campbell has not broken out yet, but the speed and the talent is there. Like if anybody
He
remembers
got
him at Ohio State,
Yeah, he's been hurt
and
both
remember,
two
yeah,
seasons. He got
he
hurt.
just has
So
not had a chance yet to show it. Like Paris Campbell could play, and then we know that they have Zach Pascal, who's not a big name, but as a third receiver, that's solid. And then they got they like the Mo Ali Cox and they like Jack Doyle. I think if you put Stafford on that team, they can be a contender for it. Not I don't know at all. I don't know if they put some with the Chiefs and the Bills, but I think it finally gives
they in the
Stafford a
mix.
chance.
Yeah, they're in the mix
Exactly, it gives
to do
Stafford a
something. Yeah,
chance
no.
to finally be on there, and that's what I
Yeah, I
hope
think
he ends up.
the coach a good spot for him.
San Fran's another
Coach
one.
also Denver. Don't forget. They have a quarterback, but I don't think anybody's sold on.
They don't have a quarterback.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's why I was trying to be nice about it, but I
Yeah,
think that
no.
Stafford is a good fit, and if you Elway, you looking at him, you got to look at because that's the type of quarterback they like.
Yeah, that Denver's another one I think would be a good fit, and also him having such a big arm means he would be able to succeed in Denver. You know how they always
Yeah,
say it's not easy for everyone to throw in
yeah, exactly,
Colorado, like with that altitude.
exactly.
Stafford would throw through that wind without no problem. Like his arms, one of the strongest in the league. So yeah, that's
Yeah.
about Denver's another one. I don't know if going to Denver gives him contender status like it would with the Colts or the 49ers, but from a football sense for Denver, definitely makes sense. I don't know if you give up the ninth pick in the draft for him though.
Yeah, that'd be tough. I mean, it's a tough.
That's
Like
high.
I think there's going to be a lot of tough decisions for these teams with all these quarterbacks being available. It's going to be a lot of offers being floated around. Somebody's going to overpay. Somebody's going to get a steal. It's going to be a lot that's going to happen. Because I mean, you also got guys like Cam that's going to potentially be available. Jared Goff's going to be available. Garoppolo could be available. So I mean, it's going to be.
Of those three, I would think no excitement in any of them. I love Cam, but I do think he's probably a backup at this point. Uh, Golf, money wise, I don't think he can be moved. I know the Rams are not fully happy, and if they could pull a trade, they probably would do it. But if you're going to do that, who is your quarterback? Like, there's not like I understand that y'all don't love golf, but you still have made the playoffs. What 3 out of the 4 years he's been there? You went to a Super Bowl, like you went to an NFC Championship. Like I don't understand like the discontent with golf and Rams fans. I really don't understand it. Now, if you could upgrade, if they could pull off a trade to get Watson, all right, that's different. Maybe even Stafford, all right, that's different. But outside of that, I don't understand why you would trade Jared Goff just for draft picks.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree, but I personally feel like there's a disconnect with McVay and Goff. I feel like
It might be.
McVay McVay doesn't feel like he can get the most out of that offense that he has with Jared Goff. I don't feel like how they say that your
Yeah,
quarterback is the extension of the coach on the field. I don't think Goff is that for McVay. So I feel like
yeah. I
that's
think
where
he does,
the problem is.
and he didn't draft him. If
Eh,
everybody
yeah,
remembers,
that
McVay
too.
did not draft him. That was Jeff Fisher.
Yeah, that too. So, all right, and of course, with the Super Bowl coming up, we got a lot to still talk about. So, we'll be back on football, and I think it's going to be a very eventful offseason for us to talk about. Now, what I want to
Absolutely.
real quick, we don't talk a lot about this next topic here, but unfortunately, this is not going to be the best um light that we're going to talk about them. But we always we got to highlight who's about that life, who's not about that life, and we're gonna talk a little baseball, not in the best way, but we're gonna have to say that the MLB Hall of Fame voters are not about that life. Um,
Trash.
to me, it's ridiculous at this point. Like, come
It
on
is.
now, we got some of the greatest of all. I mean, all time,
All time, yeah, not even just our era,
all
all
time.
time.
Yeah,
Barry
all
Bonds is a legend.
Barry Bonds, Roger Clemens, Kurt
Just
Schilling.
legends.
I can't even think of the other, but there's other names in the same boat.
Might be
I
out there.
think that yeah, might be out the I'm trying to think of the right word. The amount of pettiness involving players that played during the quote unquote steroids era is
Hmm.
just is to me it's overboard at this time. It's too much. You guys are doing too much. Like if if everybody was dirty, then it was an even
It don't
playing field.
matter. Exactly. It doesn't matter. If we could literally look at the ballot and say you're holding off Bonds and you're holding off Clemens for the same thing. So what does that say? That the hitters and the pitchers were using the same thing. So it's even. Like, so what are you talking about? And then what bothers me more than even that is that even if you want to talk about the steroid era and discredit them for that, Barry Bonds and Roger Clemens were Hall of Famers before the steroid era. They were Barry Bonds won MVPs before that stuff even started. Like, so it makes no sense that he's not in the Hall of Fame. If you want to not call him the home run king, whatever, that's fine. But before any of that started, Barry Bonds was a 40-40 guy. He was stealing 40 bases. He was hitting 40 home runs. He's a 300 hitter. Like, there's no one that can tell me that he was not a Hall of Fame baseball player, and they're just being childish.
Hey, I put it to you like this. This is the definition of cutting off your nose to spite your face. The most interesting, the most entertaining, and I would argue to say if you go look at numbers, the most profitable that the
Era.
Major League Baseball has been was during that era that they seem to.
Absolutely.
So one of the only things that you could use to benefit from that is inducting some of those guys into the hall and getting some of those eyes and some of that excitement back into the game. Um, and I think that they like I said, baseball is down across the board, and I think this is one of the main
Mm-hmm.
reasons why is they don't they're too much holding on to their old school
Rules. Yeah.
rules and
Nonsense. Like,
opinions and
I'm going to say this. I watch and know more baseball than most people that look like me of my age range. People my age, black people, don't even think about baseball. You know what I mean? It's not even a thought. And you're going to continue to lose a whole segment of the population because you're alienating players that we actually enjoyed. That was a time where we were into it. I played baseball when I was younger. My 7-year-old son are coming here right now, and he don't know one player today. He don't know one MLB player today. But if he come in here, he can name you rosters of the NFL. He can name you rosters of the NBA. He can't give you one. baseball player outside of Barry Bonds, and
Yeah, I'm
he
about to
ain't in the
say
Hall of Fame.
Barry Bonds, Roger Clemens.
The one
Everybody
guy
knows
he
these guys.
knows is not in the Hall of Fame. And then it, it's going to get even crazier. I know Alex Rodriguez is a little more of a hot button, but he too was a Hall of Famer before any of the steroid stuff. And they use it on both sides. And the MLB is very hypocritical because, like you
Very.
said, they made the most money ever during that era. They needed that era, or it would have been lights out for baseball. They had
Exactly.
just had a strike. Like you
That to
just had a
me,
like it's crazy. It's ridiculous, and they're the definition of not about sports.
yeah, exactly. The very definition of not about that life. Like, what are y'all doing? What do y'all benefit from keeping these guys out of the halls? For real.
Exactly. What do you benefit?
Giving them
Like
what they deserve.
I can get the Kurt Shirley stuff because it's not even about steroids. He's kind of
Yeah. Well, Kurt Schilling is
tweeted.
different.
Yeah, he's kind of
But
tweeted himself.
I also
That's a
feel
little
I kind of
different.
feel it, but I ain't gonna lie, I feel the same way about Schilling, even though I
Because
don't
it should
agree
be
with
about
any.
the. It should be
It's
about
about
the
what he did on the
game.
field.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
about what he did on the field, man. Let's not bring in everything that you did
Come on.
afterward, because
You
you
can't.
never know what could happen.
You can't have the bloody sock in the Hall of Fame and not the guy that wore the bloody sock.
Exactly. Thank you. And on that note, we're gonna end it on that note because they
That
ain't
don't
even
make no
worth talking.
sense.
But yeah, man. Good show, man. I think we hit everything that's going on right now. We're gonna come right back next week. We're gonna talk. We're gonna probably focus a little bit more in on the big game coming up.
Yes, sir.
Of course, it's probably gonna be some other crazy stuff that happened that we're gonna have to talk about anyway. So
Hey,
we'll
for
look
all we
for.
know, Watson make a trade in the next week.
I don't think it's gonna be too long. I don't think it's gonna
Yeah,
drag
that's all
out
me
long.
either. Me either.
Yeah,
All
but
right, bro. Think you had a
yeah, but
no. I'm saying I agree that wrap it up here. I appreciate anybody that checking us out and continue to do this every week and try to give y'all the content you're looking for. If anybody wants certain topics, just send it to us. Both are on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. My page is The Trials of Mark.
I'm at ace_ADSL. We got our ADSL page on Twitter, IG, and YouTube at About That Sports Life. It's ABTDATSPRTSLIFE. And we also have email info at aboutthatsportslife.com. Just like Mark said, questions, comments, topics, hit us up, man. We here to talk.
Yes, sir.
All right, man. Later.
Peace.